Ready. I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
always ready.
I love it. I had that sense. Hey, Michelle, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Great to meet you too.
So, before we get into your very interesting life as an intuitive guide, coach, and spiritual mentor, I want to know surviving this pandemic. We're going into a new year, but living through that time period created so many seismic waves that we've still felt to this very day. How much of living through that has affected the way that you do things now?
Well, I would say that the thing that really shifted for me was really connecting to what felt good in my life as opposed to just doing. I would say prior to the pandemic, a lot of us are on you know, attached to our to-do lists and our task lists and what we have to do and our appointments in the day. And I feel like the thing that really shifted for me personally, and I'm sure for a lot of people, is like we're connecting to what really feels good. So prior to the pandemic, maybe somebody was taking on like six clients, seven clients in a day and like overdoing it. And after, there's a level of, wait, I don't know if I really want to do that. I want to check in with myself and see how that feels.
Yeah.
So people are living a more aligned life, I would say, aligned to their truth, aligned to what feels good.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. And I'm going
Yeah.
to do that by putting you in front of a bunch of grade school kids. Let's
Okay.
say that 10, 11-year-old third graders, and one of the kids in the back of the room is curious and is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Well, for the younger kids, I would say I speak to angels. I connect with an energy that we don't see to help people see who they really are and see their truth and connect to that voice, that quiet voice inside of us that knows what to do, knows how to navigate life.
So let's find out how we got here. Let's go first and foremost. What did you want to be when you were like at career day as a third grader? What was your dream?
I used to always say that I wanted to be a businesswoman, you know, and I ended up working in fashion business straight out of college.
Okay.
Um, so I did have a fashion business um for I would say it was like almost like 8 years.
Yeah.
And it was like doing what I do now wasn't something that I ever thought that I would ever do. It's
Yeah.
not something I ever dreamed about doing. Um, but it just happened. It just evolved. It just came into my life. I knew that fashion wasn't my thing, even though I was good at it. I knew it wasn't the thing that really like moved me.
Yeah.
And the idea of doing it for the rest of my life when I was 6 years in just felt I knew that something just didn't feel right. And
Yeah.
and there are so many of us that just stay in what we do because we don't it's like there's like a lack of awareness. And we'll just keep going and keep going. And well, I'm doing it because I have to because it makes good money and but we're not living our truth. We're not living a life that's aligned with us.
Yeah.
So I knew there was a disconnect there, even though it was glamorous and yes, it validated me on the outside. You know, my friends were like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're in fashion. You get to go to the fashion shows. You get to go to Italy all the time." Yes, it was cool. It was amazing, but it wasn't my soul's purpose.
So take me back to the beginnings of your life. What were the seeds that were planted into you that made you talk to angels, made you a spiritual guide, and even getting into fashion? What were those early seeds planted?
Well, I was a very shy kid. I was beyond shy. Like getting on a podcast with you would be like an absolute no-no.
Yeah.
Okay. There, I used to sit, I didn't have so many friends. It was hard to make friends for me. And I would sit kind of in silence at school. I was always the girl that never put her hand up and didn't say much. But I would say the seeds of doing what I do now came like they were planted then when I was in my, in silence. I was um I was able to connect to that inner voice or that quiet, because that is how we connect to our intuition. It's through quiet. So I was able to connect to that higher part of myself at a very early age. And um and I was very intuitive back then. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I knew things about people and the people around me, the people in my class, and also, people that my parents were connected to. I remember telling my mom, I'm like, I don't trust that woman that you're spending time with. And my mom's like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I told her, I don't trust. I don't feel like she's a good woman.
Yeah.
And it turned out this woman tried to swindle my mom of a lot of money.
Wow.
Yes. So, um, I would say that it was my ability to just be and to be in quiet without the noise, without the distraction that really planted the seeds for where I'm at right now.
So, was there a moment when did you realize that you had this gift? Was it something that you feel like you were born with, or something that you may have felt, but you cultivated in the quiet and made it into what it is?
Okay, so I always knew I was intuitive. I never realized it was a gift.
Right.
I always thought it was my thoughts. I thought that I was thinking things. At 9/11, I was on a plane on the 14th of September, and and there was somebody getting on this plane who looked very shady, and immediately my radars went up, and I knew I didn't do this work then,
Yeah.
but I knew that this something was up with this guy. It turned out, and I told the flight attendant as we're getting on the plane, it turned out he was a terrorist. They got him off the plane. He had no luggage. He bought a one-way ticket. It was pretty crazy experience. Obviously, then I thought it was like I thought I was thinking it. I thought it was my thoughts. I thought maybe it could be partially paranoia.
Yeah.
Um, but now looking back, I know how intuitive I was then. I just didn't trust it. And the thing that really shifted for me is like I was at rock bottom in my life. Um, and I was desperate for answers. Um, and I actually begged the universe for help. I was like, please help me. I don't know what to do. And my spiritual teacher, who had passed away a few months earlier, appeared. I could see him like I'm seeing you right now. I was trying to fall asleep. I couldn't fall asleep, and there he was at the foot of my bed, talking to me and guiding me and actually giving me the answers to every issue I had. So that was the first experience, I would say, that made me realize, holy cow, like there's something happening here. After that, I started to hear voices. Um, Again, I thought it was my thoughts. I didn't know the difference. Um, and the voices wouldn't go away, and I would be out, meeting new people, and I would hear, and the voices would come, and I would hear information about them. I would know things about them. Again, thinking it was my thoughts. I'd never really realized until it got to the point that I shared this with somebody. I was embarrassed. And I was like, I think something's wrong with me. I think I might be schizophrenic. I know stuff about people. I don't know how I know. And this one person, she was like, I feel like your third eye is open. I feel like you should, go to this tarot card reader and see if she sees that you can see. And if she says that you can see, then ask her to teach you. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I was open. So I went to the tarot card reader, and the first card that I picked was the card that's the seer card. And she says, "Oh, do you know that your third eye's open and that you came here to channel for people?" And that was the moment.
Wow.
And so I asked her to teach me. She said she didn't know how to do it. And told me when I would meet my teacher. And lo and behold, I met my teacher 2 months later, who also just told me that she needed to teach me what she knew because she saw that I was able to see. And yeah, and she said that it was my purpose. And I knew, even though I rejected it because I thought it was like a weird thing and it was crazy, I knew inside that this was what I came here to do.
So is this something that you can turn on or off? Because I'm curious, as someone that doesn't, there's a lot of people that don't see anything. Is it kind of like a different version of what we're doing down here with people moving around and doing things? Is it something that you constantly see or that you can turn on or off? How does that work?
Okay. So first of all, we don't all see. There
Right.
are many different ways. I'm sure you, Joe, you've had intuitive hits in your life,
Sure.
like a feeling, right? It's
Yeah.
it's always like a feeling.
Yeah.
So so we don't all see. That's one of my gifts is that I'm able to see images in my mind's eye. Sometimes we hear and sometimes we just feel certain sensations in our body, like goosebumps. A lot of people say, "Oh, wow, I got goosebumps," call them truth bumps.
Yeah.
So, when the number one thing is that we need to know how we receive those messages so that we don't miss our intuitive cues.
Yeah.
Before even knowing that, we need to quiet our minds. That is the number one key. Like you walk into a noisy room, you're not going to be able to hear any whispers. You're not going to hear any whispers. So so what I always recommend is to um, find an activity that resonates with you to quiet the mind. And it doesn't need to be meditation. Not all of us love to meditate. I don't
Yeah.
personally. But taking time to like listen to white noise, taking a long shower. Like a lot of us get our best ideas in the shower.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're like, we're not thinking.
Yeah.
We're just in the mode of receiving. So once we're ready to receive and our antennas are like up, that's when we will get our guidance. And when you're aware of how you receive your guidance, like the goosebumps, the sinking feeling in the belly for something that doesn't feel great, or like an uplifting feeling in the belly for something that feels positive, when you're more aware of your intuitive cues or your intuitive language, I like to call it, because we all have our own language, then you'll never miss a message from your guides that want to speak to you,
Yeah.
that want to guide you in life.
Who has been kind of that foundation, that inspiration or hero for you in your life? Do you have one?
Yeah, so my spiritual teacher, I studied Kabbalah,
Yeah.
and the founder of the Kabbalah Center, his name is the Rav Berg. He um he was that person, like while he was alive, he was very tapped in, clued in, knew things about situations or people without you having ever to say anything. He was an amazing being, I would say. He was not even from this earth. Like, that's what I feel. He was incredible. So yeah, when he passed away, it was like I had the ability to connect to him in a way I never did when he was around.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was very inspiring to me.
So how do you balance this life of helping people and helping them see things and getting through that? But you have to evolve as a human being. You have your own life and your own emotions. How do you balance all of that? What gets you through every day to do that?
Well, first of all, when, doing this work, I obviously, yes, I feel people and I get what they're going through and I receive the information, but I make sure not to get that I have my little bubble around me, that I have my protection of light, that I don't get too involved in their story. Um, so I always come from a place of observation as opposed to absorbing what's going on with them, because otherwise I cannot be a channel for them or for anybody, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so obviously I have like a ritual where I cleanse myself of the energies. Um, but but I don't let it get to me, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't let it into my sphere. I'm really coming like I'm watching something on TV. So if I'm doing a session or a reading for somebody, it's as though I'm observing them from like an objective standpoint.
Yeah. You know, when I think about me trying to do something like this, approaching someone to read things, I almost don't want to bother the other side. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is, when is it appropriate for people to do it? What are the right questions? What are some of the right scenarios? What should impel people to approach you or somebody that can help them? What is the appropriate way so that you honor the spirit world and you honor the angels and you honor your life and you're not doing it because you're coming from some weird knee-jerk frivolous place?
Oh my God, this is the best question. I love that question. So it's interesting that because I get that a lot. So many of us are like, I don't want to bother the other side. First of all, your spirit guides are like waiters in a restaurant. They're waiting on you to ask for help. That this is their role. They want to help you. This is what they need from you. Okay, so you're not bothering them. You're actually like you're helping them, and you're helping them help you.
Yeah,
So um, so you're absolutely not bothering them. Now, obviously, we need to use these gifts of tapping in of intuition, not um to be nosy, to know if a guy likes you or not, or not for your selfish desires. It's not fortune telling. We're not here to to be nosy about anybody's future.
yeah,
Okay? So the best questions that I would ask, and this is how I started, was like, is this in my highest good or in this person's highest good to do X, Y, or Z? And when you're quiet, you'll receive your answers. I was like a regular person. It was not like I did this, you know, I didn't I didn't know how to do this, but when I first started, that's what I did. I would ask my spirit guides for simple yes or no answers.
yeah.
Like, do you feel like it's in my highest good to do this? And then I would say, can you show me what a yes looks like? Can you show me what a no looks like? And I would get my yes or no answers. It might have taken like 5 minutes to do that as opposed to right now where I get my answers instantly, but it's practice. It's practice. So, yeah, if you know how to ask the right question, you will always get the right answer. And it always has to um, have your higher self involved in that question.
How dangerous is the Ouija board?
Oh my God, so dangerous.
Yeah, I tried to show a stepson at one point how it worked, and because I did it when I was a kid and it was really weird then, like I knew something was
Yeah.
going on. But then I started doing it one night. I grabbed someone that was on a slave ship and I was like, "Whing," and I was like, I'm out. And I remember doing some research and they were like, it's a real middle ground, a spiritual middle ground of people that want to get in that don't have any business coming back.
Yes, yes. So funny that you mentioned the Ouija board. When I was 11 years old, I was, playing with my brother. I think back then it was like a game. So, um, and I was called, first of all, when you don't know what questions to ask, you can ask the stupidest questions. At that time, I remember I was 11 and I was obsessed with Patrick Swayze
Yeah.
and and I knew about his father who had passed away. So um I called his father and I'm like, when will I meet Patrick Swayze? And it starts like, it's all for my own benefit. Like, oh, when am I gonna meet? Am I ever gonna meet him? Will I meet him? How old will I be? Where will I be? Eventually I did meet him, by the way, exactly the when I was 17 years old, exactly what the Ouija board said. But the negative part about the Ouija board is that you're not drawing in high souls necessarily. There are very low vibrating souls that are just, you don't want to be in contact with those kind of souls,
Yeah.
like negative entities.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I was protected then because I was really dabbling
Yeah. Yeah.
for fun, but who knows? I could have drawn in some crazy souls. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for
So
your viewers, Do not do the Ouija board.
Yeah, I double that. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You obviously have to be anonymous, but when you think about all the clients that you've had over time, what was one of the most unexpected outcomes that you didn't expect that maybe made you grow in your spiritual journey to help people better and to get to a better place where, I mean, we all have these learning blocks that we have to go through in life. Was there a particular situation or client for you that got you there?
Yes. So, um, I did have one client, and this was at the beginning of my journey, a beginning of, when I started doing readings. Um, she was in her 70s, mid 70s. And we all have our egos that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But obviously when I'm doing this work, I want to be as pure as possible,
Yeah.
right? So she's in her mid 70s. I started the reading and I see her jumping out of an airplane, like skydiving. But my ego was very much involved and told me not to tell her that because I would look like a fool.
Yeah.
Like, do not even talk about that. Like, you must be making this up. This is that's not right. Like, even I was having doubts about what I was receiving, if it was really real or if I made it up.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell her. And I remember not telling her. Like the whole hour passed and the reading was, it was okay. Um, and I kept hearing my spirit guides telling me, you have to tell her. And there was such a fight of my ego and my
Wow.
higher self. And I kept saying, no, I don't want to tell her because I'm gonna look bad. And anyways, I eventually did tell her at the sorry, my dog is going
Oh,
crazy.
you're fine. I don't hear it. Yeah, you're
Oh.
good.
So so I finally do tell her at the very end. We're over. The session is over. I'm like, oh, by the way, um, this is what I saw. And she starts bawling. And it was the missing piece of the puzzle for her because she used to be a skydiver when she was in her 20s.
Wow.
So I feel like that reading really changed the way that I did things because I really learned how to take my ego out of it
Yeah.
and trust that whatever was coming was legit. It was real.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna help her.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't make sense to me, doesn't matter. So for those of us who are really trying to tap into our intuition, like just trust what you get. It may
Yeah.
not make any sense to you,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
And really that changed like my whole path,
Wow.
that reading.
That's a great story. So, of
Yeah.
all of these things that you've done in your life, everything that you've evolved to, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
I would say helping people see who they really are and helping them connect to their purpose and their truth. It's so satisfying for me. It's so fulfilling. Um, it really feels purposeful.
Yeah. So, speaking of you helping people find themselves, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I love your questions.
Thank you.
Okay. What is my perception of me? I feel like I was chosen to do this work. I feel like I came here to help people see the light within them so that they know that they're not their baggage. They don't define themselves on their lack of accomplishments or well, I did something bad when I was like 25 years old. Like that's all BS. I feel like my gift is really for people to tap into their souls, to tap into their greatness, um, to kind of walk this life without the veils over their head so that they can navigate in a way that's um, seamless, flawless, um, that things opportunities just show up for them because they're in their zone, they're in their alignment, they're in their element. They're feeling kind of like a high of life. They feel connected. And I feel like that's how I see myself.
I think that's the weird, unfortunate thing about this life is the best way to be that is to be a child. And I always think about the quote from Charles Bukowski, we're born geniuses and buried idiots. We spend our lives putting walls and all of these things around us that wonder just erodes away. And we feel like we have to be all adult all the time. But I think there's a part of the population that wants to get back to that preternatural brain matter and feel life the way we should. And kids are
Yeah.
always the conduits to the spirit world and figuring and seeing those things, right?
100%. In fact, when I teach people how to tap into their intuition, I always tell them to connect to their inner child. It's when we're silly and goofy. You know, when I'm feeling stuck, even before a session, I will like jump around and like start behaving like a kid, like
Yeah,
carefree.
yeah,
Like it's then when we're the most connected. It's then when the universe will speak to you,
yeah,
you know? Yeah.
totally. So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more, they have questions, any of the good business, where's the best place to go?
My website, which is michellegaloob.com. That's Galoob and Michelle with two L's. Um, or Instagram, which is at Michelle Galoob, and everything should be there.
I love
Yeah.
it. Michelle, thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's been fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely.